Tomorrow, the four-day ceasefire between Israel and Hamas is scheduled to begin to allow the release by both sides of hostages and prisoners. Now, on the eve of that truce, ITV News was taken by the Israeli Defence Forces into the heart of Gaza City to look inside the main al-Shifa hospital complex, where thousands of people have been sheltering. It's this hospital that Israel claims Hamas militants have been using as a base for their operations. The IDF claims this is why the complex was targeted and then occupied by their forces. Now, we were only allowed to film where the military allowed us, and our footage was reviewed by them afterwards. This report from our senior international correspondent, John Irvine.
Passing through the border fence that failed so catastrophically, we left Israel and headed for Gaza City. Israel's leaders often talk about re-establishing deterrence in this region, and they believe this wasteland is what that looks like. The destruction wrought in the heart of the war zone looks apocalyptic. We passed some of the few civilians left here, and by today even they'd had enough and were holding white flags as the safer south beckoned. The IDF were taking us to Gaza's biggest hospital, al-Shifa, to show us their latest discoveries there. The most important was a tunnel running directly under what the Israelis call the Qatari wing of the al-Shifa complex. The Israelis say they found it 2 days ago and had to make sure it was clear of booby traps before showing it to the world.
One of the reasons they advised me to take my flak jacket off before coming down here is the stifling heat. It's so hot because the air conditioning isn't working. That's one of the things that was fitted to this tunnel. In fact, it was an air conditioning unit on the surface with no apparent use that in part gave this tunnel away.
It bears the hallmarks of a Hamas tunnel. It's about 6 feet high and has a ceiling made of precast concrete. But what's less familiar about it is the rooms off it. They include a toilet and what the Israelis believe Hamas used as a dormitory.
There were beds here. Outside you saw the bathrooms, the kitchen. It's a place that they can stay for a long time.
They also showed us weapons they say soldiers have found on the hospital site over the last few days.
What do you say to skeptics who may be concerned that you planted these weapons in this hospital?
We do not plant evidence in arenas. Israel does not do that. It's a war crime. It's against the international law. We work according to all the laws, and when we make mistakes, we even say we make mistakes, but we do not put evidence in a hospital.
Next door to where the Israeli soldiers are working, some displaced Palestinian families are still living in part of the hospital complex the Israelis say they have not touched. People sheltering from the war find themselves right beside troops from the invading army.
Do you talk to one another?
Oh, definitely, yeah. We'd go and help them, and we're trying to be their friends. We bring them food. We just want to make them feel comfortable. That's the first thing we want to do. And for us, it's sad to see the situation as well.
During a tour of the area around the hospital, we came across a UN bus full of civilians who were evacuating. This woman said she'd been here since the start and had lived with fear and anxiety. She said she just wanted a stable life. The vehicles with flashing lights were waiting to escort the bus to a safer place. This was a humanitarian corridor in action. Looking at what the war has done to their neighbourhood, it was obvious that the fleeing civilians don't have much to return to if they ever get the chance. John Irvine, ITV News, Gaza City.